Real-life events have always been an inspiration for literature, and that carried over to the world of cinema. Today's film is one such example. Released in 1945, Body Snatcher is based on a short story by Robert Louis Stevenson. Stevenson, best known for Treasure Island and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, based his story on a series of murders committed in Edinburgh in 1828 by William Burke and William Hare. Hare killed 16 people over the course of 10 months, selling the corpses to Dr. Robert Knox for use in his anatomy lectures. While the trio are mentioned by name several times in the film, real-life information is kept to a minimum. Set in 1832 Edinburgh, the film centers around three characters: Dr. McFarlane, his medical student Fetis, in the title Snatcher, cab driver Gray, played by the legendary Boris Karloff. Laws of the time restrict the number of cadavers McFarlane's students are able to work with in class, so the good doctor hires Mr. Gray to exhume bodies of the recently deceased. It's a simple arrangement, one Gray relishes in holding over McFarlane's head. Fetis is the audience's gateway to the arrangement, and he soon becomes another chess piece. He tries to escape, but McFarlane constantly prevents him from doing so. The main subplot involves a woman and her daughter, who has been paraplegic since a carriage accident. The mother believes her daughter's condition can be corrected surgically, and although McFarlane agrees, the good doctor is hesitant to perform an operation on the girl's spine. Eventually, he is talked into it by Fetis, but requires a cadaver to practice on first. Gray goes to work, but kills a local singing girl instead of grave robbing, as his previous job had drawn too much attention to the cemetery. The conspiracy moves back and forth until the film's climax, with blackmail, murder, and evidence disposal the result. Gray charges £10 per body. Adjusted for inflation, that would balance out to $48.60 in 1945 and $1,400 in 2015. Robert Wise directed the film. While nothing groundbreaking for the time, his camera work is simple but effective, and he got believable performances out of the actors. This was his third feature film, and he went on to have a long career, directing standouts like The Day the Earth Stood Still, The Sound of Music, and Star Trek the Motion Picture. He passed away in 2005. Roy Webb composed the score. Known mainly for noir and horror, he was at home here. Although I'm not overly familiar with his other work, his score has that golden age vibe that one can't help but enjoy. The overture alone puts the audience in the right mindset for what's about to unfold. While Webb worked mainly for RKO Pictures, his credits include Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Mighty Joe Young. He passed away in 1982. McFarlane was played by Henry Daniels. He is a high-class gentleman, and Daniels played the part with his usual sardonic delivery, adding in tragic emotion as the plot unfolds. Henry was as far from a complainer as any I'd ever known, Robert Wise said of him. He'd walk onto the set, do his work like the pro he was, do it damn good, and then quietly leave without being a burden to anybody. Daniels passed away in 1963 during the filming of My Fair Lady. Fetis was played by Russell Wade. He comes off as likable and is discussed at the crimes is the audience's insertion into the film. There's not much else to say about his performance other than it was serviceable. Wade played supporting roles in more than 80 films, last appearing in 1948's Beyond Glory. He passed away in 2006. Edith Atwater played the small role of Meg. While she has hardly any screen time, she works well with what little she's given, playing the shoulder angel to both McFarlane and Fetis. A respected stage actress, Atwater was no stranger to the silver screen, her two most widely known appearances being True Grit and Family Plot. She succumbed to cancer in 1986. Horror legend Bela Lugosi played the small role of Joseph. Barely more than a cameo, Lugosi does his best with the material, but the result is still a one-note performance. This was also the last film Lugosi made with Karloff, and it is a sad end to an enduring partnership. In a weird way, Lugosi's murder scene could be viewed as an allegory for their careers, as Karloff had overtaken him in popularity and box office potential by this point, and Lugosi's career had begun to decline. If there's one reason to watch the film, it's Boris Karloff. He's always fun to watch, and this film's no exception. Karloff plays Gray with the perfect amount of sarcastic wit and smugness, with gentlemanly flair thrown in for good measure. He's a dirty rat, but at least he's cordial. One moment that stands out is Gray's introduction, where he's calmly speaking with a young girl. Karloff is known for his love of children, which he channels here. It's one of the few times his true personality shines through, but in the context of the film it can be viewed as Gray's public face. The Body Snatcher was one of 3 films Karloff made for RKO, and the first film he made after leaving Universal Pictures. While I still have to go through more of Karloff's filmography, his performance here would easily make it onto my top 10 list. While not a classic on the level of Bride Bride of Frankenstein or The Wolfman, The Body Snatcher is a decent horror film. It starts slowly, but picks up speed after the first 10 minutes. It does have some melodramatic moments, but they don't bother me since they tie into the crimes. I only recommend it for fans of 40s horror or Karloff. At 77 minutes, it won't eat up much of your time. I give it 3 out of 5 stars.